The Vethera's Fong dropped out of fold space on fumes. Captain Riker gripped the command rail as the ship shuddered, every strut groaning with the particular agony of a vessel that had survived something it wasn't designed to survive. 3 Dominion dreadnoughts. 1 ambush. An escape jump calculated in 13 seconds flat by a navigation officer who had since lost consciousness from blood loss. Hull integrity? Riker said. 41%, answered Lieutenant Joe, the ship's tactical officer, a young Varith female whose silver-streaked feathers were singed at the tips from the last breach. Primary weapons offline. Secondary weapons also offline. We are, as the humans say, completely screwed. Don't use human idioms until we know if they'll help us. Riker stared at the forward display. The blue-green sphere hanging in the void ahead was not their destination. It was their only option. Open a hailing frequency to the surface. Emergency beacon, all bands. The response came in 40 seconds. That, alone, surprised him. A human voice, clipped, no nonsense, carrying the background noise of heavy machinery. This is Cascadia Orbital Repair Authority. We read your distress signal. State vessel class, damage severity, and are you armed? Riker exchanged a glance with Joe. Why do they ask if we are armed? Joe checked her console. Historical records suggest humans are cautious about unknown ships near their world. Cautious. He would learn later that was the gentlest possible word for it. They were cleared for low-orbit docking at a facility called Dry Dock 7, which turned out to be less a dock and more a floating city of scaffolding, arc welders, and humans in magnetic boots who moved across hull plating like they were born to it. The Vethera's Fong was 300 meters of Varith warship. Dry Dock 7 swallowed it like it was nothing. Chief Engineer Darian Voss was the first human to come aboard. He was not what Riker expected. The captain had read human dossiers, he knew their biology, their strange emotional volatility, their short lifespans that somehow produced this relentless forward momentum. But Voss was a compact man in his 50s with grease under his fingernails and the quiet eyes of someone who had solved problems other people had declared unsolvable. He walked the damaged corridors of the Vethera's Fong the way a doctor walks a trauma ward, calm, assessing, professionally unmoved by the carnage. Behind him came his team. Me, his senior fabricator, a woman who said almost nothing but whose hands were always moving, sketching measurements in the air with a small stylus as she walked. New York, the youngest of the group, barely passed his training certifications, who looked at the Varith energy coupling array with an expression of pure hunger, like a musician who'd just found an instrument he'd never heard of before. And Dai, the team's structural analyst, a tall, unhurried person who photographed every breach and shattered strut with the systematic thoroughness of someone who wasn't just thinking about repairs, they were thinking about what the repairs could become. Voss stopped in the main engine bay. He looked at the collapsed secondary drive housing. He looked at the melt scoring across the primary weapon pylons. He looked at the jury-rigged power routing that Riker's engineers had done in the middle of combat to keep anything running at all. Then he looked at Riker and said, "How long do you have before the Dominion finds you here?" Riker said nothing for a moment. Then, our last intelligence suggested their fold tracking range at approximately 70 hours. Voss nodded slowly. 70 hours. He turned to his team. Me, I need your full materials inventory and a load assessment on those pylons. New York, you're on the drive coupling. I want to know what it can do, not what it was designed to do. He looked at Dai last. Hull breach mapping, full survey, and I want your modification notes, not just repair specs. Dai looked up. Modification notes? You heard me. They worked in shifts that humans apparently called around the clock, which meant continuously, which meant Riker twice found New York asleep on the floor near the drive assembly with a diagnostic tablet still running in his hand. Me had set up what appeared to be a small personal workshop in one of the empty cargo bays and was manufacturing replacement parts on site rather than ordering them from the surface. Dai filed 47 pages of structural analysis in the first 12 hours, but the last 11 pages, Riker noticed, were not labeled Repair Assessment. They were labeled Structural Opportunity Index. He asked Voss about it on the second day. The chief engineer was elbow-deep in a power conduit that, as far as Riker knew, no human should have been able to reach. He answered without stopping work. Your ship was built to Varith military spec from 40 years ago, Voss said. Good design. Conservative design. The kind of design you use when you don't know what you'll face. He pulled something free, examined it, discarded it. You now know exactly what you'll face. 3 Dominion dreadnoughts, close range, coordinated broadside fire. So Dai isn't just patching your hull. Dai's rethinking your hull, redistributing the stress load points so the next time you take a hit in your port quarter, the energy dissipates outward instead of cascading inward toward your crew compartments. Riker was quiet for a moment. That wasn't in the repair order. No, Voss agreed. It's in the upgrade order. You'll receive a bill. We didn't request. Captain. Voss finally stopped working and looked at him directly. There was no aggression in it. Just the focused patience of someone explaining something important. You came here in a ship that almost killed every soul aboard it. You have 70 hours, give or take, before the people who almost killed those souls come looking for you. I could patch your hull and send you back out exactly the way you came in. That is an option. You could also leave here in something that is specifically designed to survive what you just survived, equipped with several things the Dominion has never seen before, crewed by people who are still alive to fight. That is also an option. He tilted his head slightly. I know which one you'd choose. I just wanted to say it out loud so we're both clear. On the 54th hour, Jo came to find Riker with something on her face he hadn't seen since before the ambush. Hope. You should see this, she said. He followed her to the weapon pylons. What had been melted, fractured carbon alloy was now something else entirely. New York was running calibrations on a firing matrix that had been, expanded wasn't quite the right word. Reconceived. The Varith weapons array had been designed for 2 forward-facing particle lances. What New York had built, working from the ship's existing emitter architecture in components fabricated by me from materials that had apparently been pulled from 6 different sources on Earth's surface, was a multivector array. Forward-facing still. But also lateral. And with a secondary pulse charge function that the Dominion's shielding systems were, according to Dai's quiet research into captured Dominion technical data, not calibrated to absorb. How? Riker asked. New York looked up from his calibrations with the expression of someone who had been awake for too long but was too excited to care. Your emitter architecture was underutilized, he said. The harmonics they were just sitting there, Captain. 3 unused resonance channels in every emitter. We didn't add anything that wasn't already in your ship. We just listened to what the ship was trying to do. Riker stood there for a long time, looking at what his ship had become. Then he looked at Darien Voss, who was leaning against the far bulkhead with his arms folded, watching the captain with the quiet satisfaction of a man who had done precisely what he set out to do. You could have charged us more, Riker said. Voss shrugged one shoulder. We could have. Why didn't you? The chief engineer was quiet for a moment. When he answered, there was something underneath the words that Riker couldn't quite name, something old and certain and absolute. Because the Dominion has been eating through this sector for 6 years, Voss said. And you're one of the few fleets still fighting them. And this, he gestured, broadly, at everything that the Vethera's Fong had become in 54 hours, is what we do. He pushed off from the bulkhead. Don't come back broken, he added, over his shoulder. Come back with their wreckage. The Vethera's Fong left Dry Dock 7 at hour 68, running hot and quiet and completely unlike anything it had been when it arrived. The Dominion ships found them 4 hours later. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Riker filed the engagement report that evening. Under notes, he wrote 3 words that would be translated into 16 languages and transmitted across what remained of the Allied fleet. Earth fixes things.